He shot this several years ago.
Yes.
I think 6 years ago at this point.
And if I had shot it, I would also wait 6 years to show.
And so there's a lot of music in it, although you never get a sense that he has particularly refined taste in music. I mean, some big names wander through, you know?
Patti Smith is
Right.
quite a large role.
Yep. Well, large relative in the scheme of a
She has
Terrence
more
Malick.
dialogue than Natalie Portman. She probably has more
probably true.
dialogue than Rooney Mara, who's technically the main character of the film.
The Red Hot Chili Peppers show up for some reason.
There's two D Antwoord tracks in the soundtrack. I mean, this is the Malick film that's going to go down for many firsts, many unexpected aesthetic decisions.
I wouldn't have taken him for a Chili Peppers fan, you know? I don't know if maybe they were just available.
Yeah, I just think it's anyone who was around.
Because a lot of the stories that circulated around Night of Cups was that a lot of the celebrities who appear in that were just kind of around.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the Entourage movie. They were just people in the area. And
What is Val Kilmer's only line in this film?
God.
Does he
And this-
say, "I have plutonium"? I think it's like Val Kilmer appears at one point in this movie and he just throws something, and I think he says like, "This is plutonium."
I'm
and then he
glad you brought that
disappears.
scene up, because that scene to me is a crux to a theory I have about him as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's well known for sort of finding his movies in post.
Yeah.
I mean, Malick's style is you get a bunch of big name actors together, you go out, you shoot for sometimes very long extended periods of time.
Yeah.
And then once you're in post, you find the movie. Now, actors, I'm still a little confused that actors keep agreeing to work with him, because frequently they'll get cut completely out of the movie.
Yeah.
And sometimes he'll kind of take their performance and chop it up to an extent that it's barely a performance anymore. And watching this, there's a scene in this where Val Kilmer has a chainsaw on stage, and he like takes a chainsaw to a speaker, and he like uses that as like visual wallpaper basically for one of the many whispery voiceover monologues that are now so commonplace in Malick's work. And I kept thinking, that's a scene. Like, give us that as a scene, you know? Like, construct it as a scene. And I found myself thinking that a lot during this movie, that I suspect that there might be the raw materials for an actual drama in this film. If
There's
he
a
let
film
it,
somewhere in
well,
here.
I think so. I mean, we talk about him finding them. And I think that he has decided that his mode of communication, which I have defended many times before, but I think occasionally there are movies that are probably left on the editing room floor that are more interesting. And you can see glimmers of it in the performances you get in this film. I mean, Gosling, who's somebody I've dinged before for not being the most emotive performer, has a very emotional scene in this. I think that Fassbender is quite good, even though he's giving a role in piecemeal, the way that you have to in a Malick
as we were
movie.
leaving, I said that the thing that impressed me the most is that Fassbender manages to give like a pretty memorable performance, and he literally has nothing to work with.
Right.
There's no evidence that he was given any idea of this. It's just like Michael Fassbender goofing around for the entire movie and being as charming as he can be to all the other characters, but it works.
But doesn't it make you wonder if there's a version of this that they could have carved out that gave us, because Malick's first movie, Badlands, which is an eternity ago at this point, it's a straightforward narrative film. Now, I'm not saying I'm happy with the direction his career took over the years, and that he found the filmmaker that he wants to be. I would never ask somebody to be somebody that they don't want to be as an artist. But you do see the foundation in Badlands that he can tell a story. And I think that there are hints of a more interesting piece of work in this movie that get lost in his usual sort of swirling vortex